Welcome back to Rick's Scale Model Fix and the video build of the Kinetic F-104 Starfighter in 1/48 scale. In the previous episode we looked at getting the paint scheme on the aircraft, and that's now completed pretty much, and there's no more painting really to be done apart from a few little panels here and there, and it's time to start moving on. So we're going to seal all this fresh paintwork in with a gloss coat, and we're going to go old school with this one, and we're going to use the Johnson's Clear floor polish of many a year ago. Pretty hard to get hold of these days. I've still got an original bottle, so we're just going to pour a little bit into a cup. That just avoids contaminating the bottle, and we're going to apply this with cotton buds. So thoroughly wetting the tip of the cotton bud to start with, and what that does is it gets all the fibres to lie down, and we're just going to go very gently in left to right, right to left actions, and just build a layer up over the surface of the paintwork. Making sure we don't get any runs. I'm going to repeat that all over the airframe. And all this does is protect this paintwork from handling. If you accidentally get any overspray or anything wrong during subsequent stages of the build, such as the application of the wash, anything like that, you've got a barrier coat there between the paintwork and what you're currently working on, which means you can protect your paint finish and you can take it back one step without too much ado, and that way you're not too concerned about perhaps doing permanent damage to your paintwork. And also it gives a nice smooth surface for those decals to go on. So many contest the argument of whether a gloss coat is actually needed for the decals. I find they work better with a gloss coat, certainly result in less silvering. And we're just going to repeat this process from the entire airframe. If we start picking any colour up on the cotton bud, we just change it for a new one. A bit of rough paintwork there, we could hear that go over that, but just making sure it's not pulled any fibres out, which it's not. And we're starting to gloss this Tamiya flat white up as well, more in keeping with the rest of the airframe, and making an overall consistent finish for the application of the wash and the decals. So I'll carry on doing the rest of the airframe off camera and join me back shortly. Well, we're back at the cutting mat, and while the fuselage dries from the application of the Johnson's clear gloss coat, there's still work to do. So we're going to look at doing the drop tanks. So 4 are provided in the kit, 2 for the underwing and 2 wingtip ones. So we're not using the underwing ones for this model, but we are doing the wingtip ones. So I've removed the parts from the sprue already and given them a quick clean up using the Florey Models sanding stick, and the fit is pretty much as good as it gets. So we're going to glue these now in place with a bit of Tamiya extra thin quick dry, and we're just going to hold that together with finger pressure just to make sure that seam is all lined up. We've got a slight bead of plastic there, which is good, because that means it's really easy to just sand it off with the sanding sponge once the glue's dry. It also acts slightly as a little filler if there are any imperfections just on the mating surface. So we're just going to hold that all in place, make sure it's all good, and then underneath or on top, depending on which way around we've got the parts. Again, all going together really well, and we're just going to make sure everything lines up. Like so. And we'll now look at putting on the fins at the back. So I've already removed those as well, so we'll just tidy these up at the cutting mat. So we're just going to use a knife blade, and all we're going to do is literally just remove the sprue gate, little sand, and then there's one on the end of the location tab there as well. I'll just get rid of that. Same with the longer section, so it's quite important to make sure you get these the right way around, otherwise it's going to look really odd on your model. Again, just tidying all the parts up, being really thorough in our parts cleanup. Nice tidy build. There we go. As I'm taking our drop tank, I'm just going to get this in the right orientation. So we've got the slit for the wing on the inside and the 2 holes to the top, and this goes on like so. And again, that's a pretty good fit. So I'm going to go straight in with the extra thin. Just making sure it's in alignment. Quick cutting mat check to make sure it's vertical, which it is, and we'll just let that dry. So the drop tank tail was dry, and we put the fins on. Just going to glue those in place. So these don't go on as you would expect, and if you don't get them right, they can look quite odd and they don't fit. So all I did was I turned to the back of the booklet, and using the inboard one, using the starboard drop tank with the slit on the inside, I just made sure that those matched the diagram there. And then while those are drying, we shall make a start on cleaning the seams up. So using a Florey Models blue sanding sponge, dual sander, we're just going to gently work our way along that seam. Let's one, so we'll use a bit of a newer one with a. We're not pressing down, we're just letting the sander do the work. I'm just going to remove those, any traces of the seam and glue. Go back to the more worn one now, just to polish it off slightly. Just getting there around that. And just making sure everything is in alignment. And we'll do the same for the top surfaces. Okay, so we'll just wipe that down. Just using a baby wet wipe, just to get rid of the sanding dust, and we can see how the tank looks. Dry that with a piece of kitchen paper. As you can see, there was very minimal clean up there for that seam. The fit was really good. Got a tiny little gap there, which you could probably carry on with this one, just to remove that. Go back with the sander. Right. Pretty good. I might just need a touch of Mr. Surfacer there. So what we'll do is we'll, just in case it was a bit where the glue hadn't fully bitten, I'll just put some glue in there, squeeze it together, and there's the drop tank number 1 done. So I'll not bore you to death with going through and building the other drop tank up, so we'll just tidy the bench up, and you can join me later and we'll have a look at some of the other parts of the model that we can do while we're waiting for that gloss coat to fully dry. So we've still got some bits and pieces to do while we wait for the fuselage paintwork to dry. So we just thought we'd mention wheels. So F-104Js, to the best of my knowledge and research, had the earlier narrower wheels and tyres with the standard undercarriage doors. The later Gs, sorry, had the wider wheels and the bulge doors. So it just pays to check your reference. I think Kinetic in their instructions point you in the direction of the wider wheels. Anyway, so we've cut them off the sprue, so these are the doors that you want for a J. There's no bulge in there to accommodate the larger width of the tyres. So we've removed them from the wheels from the sprue. 2 halves, simply joined together. Hub detail's really nice. So we'll just carry on with those. So we're just trimming off the attachment points. There we go. And on the last one, the locating pins were just a little bit too long, so I'm just going to sand those down slightly. And then we'll just join these halves together. Making sure we get the flat spots lined up. There we go. Send me a quick drying, extra thin as always. Just worked in to the joint. Bit of finger pressure just to make sure everything lines up. And then we've just got the nose wheel. And I'll just check. So those location pins, just again a tad too long, just stop the halves meeting properly. Just no biggie, just sand them down a little bit. The weather's quite nice outside and we've got all the neighbours' dogs are out, and nice to see that everyone's self-isolating at the moment. Okay, so there's still a couple of other items that we need to look at before we can get on with the deckling. And it's always good to stagger your build like this because it means your previous work is drying and setting. So we've got quite a few parts already. So we've got those drop tanks that we did. We've got the wheels and undercarriage doors now. So we just need to take a look at the launch rails. So on the picture I'm using as reference, the aircraft is fitted with some underbelly sidewinder launch rails and a couple of sidewinders. So we need to build these up, and that's taken care of in this section here. So, and they're mounted as it's shown underneath. So we need C46 and C45. So C46, C45, and D16. They go together, and then we need C47 and C48. And C23 and 24. That's 23. And that's 24. We'll put them on opposite sides because they're very similar pieces. And then we'll have the two launch rails. Okay. So we'll just construct these. So again, cleaning up the little attachment points. Always to get the best fit that we possibly can. And we'll just check that fit. So that's the missile launch rail going together. Could be better. Oh, we've got a gap there in the top. That's fine. So just using a skinny stick, we're just going to remove the raised portions of those ejector pin marks. And this one might just need trimming down. We'll just run the bead of glue along that joint. Finger pressure just to close it up. got part D16, which is a clear part to go on the end. We will add those at the end of the build. So just make sure everything lines up there in the right positions. There's one. And then we'll turn our attention to the actual carrier, the pylon itself. So we'll just clean these up. Again, the objective is to always get the best fit that you can. Minimal cleanup. Just across the top. So these sort of fly in tandem. They look as though they go that way around. There's no inside edge or outside edge by the looks of things. And all that spaces them out is the sway braces. That's what attaches into the fuselage. So we've never opened the holes at the beginning of the build, so it'd be interesting to try and find where those are located. So we know that this one was part 24. We'll just trim the contact points up again. There we go. So making sure we get the long end away. They go in. Right. So we'll put rubber glue in there. So they are keyed, even though they didn't at first look like it. And we've got part 23. We'll go at the front around so that they lock in together. We'll glue in that. To bite. And it's doing quite well. And then we need to add the other side. And again, just glue. Put it on the workbench and just make sure we've got everything true and lined up. So we've just got the missiles themselves to build up now. So I'll just do one of these on camera, I think. So the detail looks really nice. It's made up of the fins are separate. We'll just snip these off. We may as well do them all together as we're doing it. There we go. And then there's two rocket motor sections at the back. We'll remove those as well. And we'll build these up. We'll start with the bodies themselves. We're getting into that usual routine of cleaning everything up. This is where the sanding sponges come into their own, because we have a curved item there, so if you were to flat sand that with this side of the sanding sponge, it would leave a flat spot, where with the sponge side it just cleans it up, get rid of the mould lines. Give the body a quick, just removing it, mold parting lines, there we go. So we get the tail of the missile in place. Just clean up these attachment points. Slide this in the back, like so. Bit of glue. And then we need to clean up the rocket motor part and add that to the back. Go in. Helps to get it the right way. Not easy with such small parts. Holding them sometimes. There we go. Just a bead of glue in there. Using the flat side of the tweezers, I'm just going to push it in. It makes for a perfect joint. So that's that. Got another attachment point on the body there, so we can use a skinny sander sponge just to clean that up. And then we just need to add the fins to the front, so we'll select two of these and we'll just trim the location so, bit of glue in the hole. Not the right way around. Add it. Bit of glue in the hole. And drop in, making sure that they are all the right angles, which they are, and a missile done. So we don't want to put that down on its fins, so I'll just rest it against the top of the workstation there. And we'll repeat the same for this one. Good. So sometimes, you know, it's not the most interesting viewing. A lot of people just would never show you this, and you sometimes miss some vital steps and how to prepare things. So of course all these will need, all these sections that we've just been working on in this episode of the video will now all need painting. So that's something I'm not going to show. I'll just come to you at the end and show you the finished parts. Otherwise we'll be into a 10-11 part video. So just cleaning the fins up again. Worthy of a mention to say that the weapons included in the Kinetic kit are really nice. Sometimes manufacturers just think of them as an afterthought, leaving you to go down the aftermarket route. So we'll just clean these little bits up again. Get it the right way around. We'll go straight in this time. More glue. Flat metal surface, just push it home, and that way it doesn't get stuck to your fingers. You'll get fingerprints in. Nice bit. And then we'll just put these fins on again. So we're just trimming off sprue attachment point, and also just shortening the height of the location tabs somewhat, just to make sure that they do go in, even though the recesses are quite deep. And we'll just put them in place. So I'll need to look at my reference. I've just lost the fin. Let's go over that to see what colour these were. They look to be orange and white on the photo that I am using of the aircraft. Doesn't really show them in much detail, so I have to have a scout about. There we go. So like I said just in the video there a second ago, I'm not going to, these will all need painting now and putting in primer. So we've got quite a bit covered in this video, and it's all the bits, like I said, that people may not necessarily always show you in their videos. And just making sure that we've got these wheels, so the difference between the two sets is quite clear. So these are the ones that we need to use, and these are the ones for the G. So you can see they are substantially different. So I'll crack on with these off camera. We have left the fuselage for plenty of time to dry now, so all should be good there in terms of deckling, and that will make up the next part of the video. So we'll just check these rails do actually go on to the pylon, which they do, and they should be at a slight angle, which they are, and then the missiles themselves will slot onto those. So thanks for watching. It's not been the most exciting episode, and so if you have enjoyed the content, please like and subscribe for the next one, and in the next video we'll be certainly looking at adding the markings to the airframe. So please take care, and until next time.